Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Curious Realm's continuing coverage here on site at the MUFON International Symposium here in Irving, Texas. We have the great joy of being joined by Jeremy Ray, one of the the head investigator for Colorado.
Oh, well, yes, sir. Well, I say everybody's head investigator because we're all volunteers. So
That's right.
It's good to see you again,
you
Chris.
too, man.
Thank
It's
you.
always great. I love our conversations outside, inside, after sessions. How did you first get involved in the world of MUFON, Jeremy?
Well, I you know what? This is something I've never really ever said on a podcast. That's a good question. Before, I didn't really believe in UFOs when I was a kid growing up, and I had my own sighting. And that one day changed my entire life and my whole perception on the world view. I started questioning everything. A couple of years later, a buddy of mine, because I lived in Victoria, Texas during the time, small town, a buddy of mine said MUFON was coming into Victoria, and a woman named Doris Upchurch, she was a Corpus Christi chapter, and she was coming up to meet at a convention center and talk to people in Victoria seeing UFOs. So I think I was 18 at the time. I drove my car out there, and I had the picture of the sighting that I took, and I met Doris Upchurch, and I gave her the photograph and told her everything. It was my first time where I didn't get that two-step back, you know what I mean, because back in 1996 or whatever, UFOs was a taboo subject. So if you brought it up, everybody thought you were a loony. And that was probably the first person that took me seriously, because she's an investigator. She's heard this stuff before. And I was very impressed by her professionalism, and I was very impressed of the acceptance of my story. And, when I got in the military, I had another sighting. And, MUFON was always in the back of my mind, and I always thought, well, one of these days, when I become a civilian again, I'm going to join that organization. And that's how I started. I joined in 2006, and I've been with them ever since. So it's almost 19 years now.
How many cases have you investigated thus far, would you say?
I've never counted, but it's around 150 to 200, I think. I would have to count. But I was an investigator in California, took a bunch of cases there. Texas, I lived in Texas I came back to Texas and lived there, did a bunch of cases, and then moved to Colorado. So I would have to, that's a good question. I'd have to get on the CMS and check every state and start counting them up.
Well, Colorado especially is one of the populous states with sightings and things. Let's start getting into some of the stuff happening right there in your state purview.
I would say some of the hot spots in Colorado would be Peterson Space Force Base, actually. We get a lot of people taking pictures of unknowns around the surrounding area. We're kind of, that happens often. And then Pikes Peak Mountain, there's a lot of sightings that are reported there. I mean, even if they're not reported to MUFON, I still hear through the grapevine when people are like, I saw a sighting at Pikes Peak. I saw a sighting at Pikes Peak. And so I would say those two areas are areas of interest, sir. Okay.
Wow. Now, when it comes to investigating out in the field, let's start somebody, because, of course, every MUFON case starts with an intake form. It all starts with a witness sighting, because, of course, the scientific process begins with observation. So without a sighting, without a witness, what do we have to work with? How does the process begin with MUFON? How does it move into the world of a field investigator? And how does a field investigator handle that?
So what happens is somebody sees a UFO, they do a little research, or they've heard of MUFON, they get on the MUFON website, there's a tab that says report a UFO, they click on it, there's a questionnaire to fill out, and short description or long description they might put in, and they leave their contact information. Once they hit submit, that goes to our state director or our chief investigator. Well, actually, it goes to International MUFON. Somebody goes, okay, this goes to Colorado. And then it's real quick. We get an email immediately once it's submitted that Colorado's got a case. And either Seth Feinstein or the chief investigator will check and see how many investigators are available to do a case. We don't want to swamp people. Like if you were an investigator, Chris has already got 5 cases. I'm not going to give him a 6th one. You know. Sometimes we get slammed. Sometimes they're very sporadic. So that's how it would be assigned, to make sure we could find somebody that could do it. And then once that happens, that field investigator sends out an email to the person requesting an interview, whether it's over the phone or a place to meet up. Most of the time when there's evidence involved, we want to come to the house, and like if something landed in your backyard and there was landing trace evidence, I'm not going to call you on the phone and say thank you and do the report and hang up. We're going to come to the house, and we're going to see what we can gather as evidence.
Sure.
And some cases can be closed real quick. Like we had this, thanks to Mindy Tafest, we had this, oh my God, I can't think of the word right now, but where we close cases quick for like Starlink satellites. Because I'm telling you, when those things come over a populated area, we get slammed with UFO reports.
Living in Texas, I get pictures of Boca and things like that regularly. Look at this thing in the sky. It's like, yes, that is a launch. Yep. Like here's their website. You can follow their launch schedule.
Yes, sir.
Here's
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, there are numerous tools out there, like Stellarium is a fantastic one.
I use it.
And that one will actively show you not only the constellations in the sky, but the satellites that are in front of them, things like that. And if it's not a military satellite or something, it'll give you the satellite designation, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting. Even Flight Radar 24,
there's fantastic.
There's a lot of things like that, that even if you're the average person out there and you saw something and you have a picture, you could probably rapidly eliminate it by pulling out Flight Radar 24, pointing it in the same location, and you can even travel back in time, like, what was this Tuesday? Things like that, and see what they looked like and see what was there.
Yeah, we non-MUFON related. One time at one of my jobs, we had a helicopter. It was really close, and and I work in the security department. Yeah. And in about 30 seconds, I already had the tail number, where it came from, what airport, and I turned it over to my supervisor, and he thought I was a genius, and I taught him how to use Flight Radar 24.
No, it's a free app. Here you go.
It's real simple. It's like a VCR. You can rewind. Just find the location and where you're at. No, that's a great tool.
Yeah.
Heavens Above is a great tool. That tracks most of the satellites that are public, not the secret ones.
Yeah, you're not going to see, like, Office of Surveillance satellites and NSA satellites on there, things like that.
National Reconnaissance Office.
Yeah, NRO is exactly what was in my head. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stellarium. I actually am a big fan of Sky Map app on our phone. I mean, sometimes I've had people that said, hey, that live while it's happening, and I'm telling them it's Venus, and they're arguing with me, so I just pull out the app and show it to them.
Yeah.
You just take your phone and point, and it'll tell you what star or what planet, any celestial object. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Well, let's get into that part of the conversation real quick, because that is probably amongst the communities online, of which I belong to a plethora of communities, from paranormal to cryptozoology to UFO, UAP. I'm yelled at a lot by a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy, because years of living my life behind a lens, I can explain a lot of lens flares. I can explain a lot of things that are there on your camera that are probably an aberration in the picture that you took, things like that. And I break a lot of hearts. But like we talked about with Sobhani earlier, Dr. Sobhani, it's the fact of you've got to be willing to shoot your darlings. You've got to be willing to let something go. How important is it to cull data from the data set, to actively eliminate things? I mean, I know it breaks somebody's heart because they had a moment. They saw something.
Yep.
They took a picture of it. Their Ring doorbell took a picture of it. But how often is it that you have to let somebody know that, unfortunately, this is a very explainable event?
I have many different ways of explaining to somebody so I don't get attacked, but we usually, when someone sees something that they truly believe was a 1 in a million life thing, and they're mistaken, whether it could be anything that we could come to a down-to-earth explanation for. I've had people say, well, this investigator wasn't a good investigator. He shot my report. I want to take this upstairs. And they contact MUFON, and we'll actually assign another investigator to investigate the case. And the state director will have eyes on. And you'll have 3 people. Sometimes you just need an 80% is a really good probability, of assurance that, yes, that is a Mylar balloon. I'm 80% sure because the wind direction was blowing this way. The videotape shows it blowing about 5 miles an hour, and it was launched at this time, and we can say it would have taken about 30 minutes to get to this location. So we're 80% sure that that's a Mylar balloon. And, and with all these facts that you could throw in, people still want to believe. I had a case where a woman filmed a bunch of fireballs in the sky, and it looked amazing, all right? But I was assuming it was Chinese lanterns because I've seen this before. When I'm looking at UFO videos, I want to see a zig or a zag, but when things are just drifting and they're all going together, to me it's like, hey, it looks like the wind's blowing it. So what I did is I found out that there was a wedding at a park nearby, and they lit up a bunch of Chinese lanterns. And I asked if we could get a copy of the wedding and the release of all that. And what I did was, you crop it. You don't show the wedding, of course. Just them in the sky. I'd crop it and I put it up on a thing where the witness could look at and view.
Sure.
And she was like, "That's exactly what I saw. That's exactly what I saw." And the timing of it was perfect because it drifted over to where it was at.
Yeah.
Once let her know it's Chinese lanterns, there was a disappointment, but also a happiness that finally someone worked to figure out what this was.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't, because sometimes
haunt you for the rest of your life,
right? So we do good things, but sometimes there's people that are pretty gun-ho on, I know what I saw. I wanted to share the experience. I didn't want you to come at me and tell me that I don't know what I saw. Yeah. And you'll have a bash MUFON. But look, we're really trying to find the truth. And if it is the real deal, we are going to tell you. And when it becomes an unknown, it's not just like one person goes, well, I'm just going to write it off as an unknown. No, your state director and everybody above you gets involved and
that's right,
checks everything and makes everything's good. Our state director, Seth Feinstein, is fantastic, and he will spot check that stuff really quick. If we've got a we don't want to be lazy. Like sometimes you might get an investigator that probably wasn't trained and just started, and will put unknown on anything, and we'll be like, why do you think it's a bird? Do you have any proof that it's a bird? If you're going to put that report, you need to have something to back it up. And then teach people, don't put your opinions. We train people.
The field investigator training here, all that kind of stuff.
But yeah, it's hit. Sometimes depends on the personality. But we get hit with flack when we come up with an IFO. We know what that is as an airplane. These are the blinking lights from. Yeah. And
IFO would be identified flying objects, folks. Just so you know.
But a lot of it is weeding through the chaff. Yeah. Trying to come to a down-to-earth explanation. If it's an unknown, it doesn't mean it's an alien from another planet. It just means we went through our entire checklist and we're not able to identify what it is.
Well, and that was honestly one of my favorite parts of the first NASA panel that happened was displaying open of the Go Fast video. Oh. Where quite literally they were like, okay, so why did this make it to this point? Because on the heads-up display, we have the altitude of the craft observing it. We have the speed of the craft observing it. We have the distance to object. We have the distance to background. Out of all that, we can trigonometry the size and speed of this object. It's 40 feet going 40 miles an hour. That's within the realm of known quantitative. We can put our efforts into unknowns.
Yes, sir.
So even the idea of that, like once again, be willing to shoot your darlings. That was one of the 5 videos that came out of the declassification of things that lasted until NASA got involved. And like he said, all that data is right there in front of your faces. It's all right there for you. Why didn't you use it?
Oh, here's I can give you a simple explanation. I had a guy that was hunting geese or whatever. He had a little hole pit that he dug out. He took a picture of his fake ducks that he set out to try to lure in with his duck calling. And when he took that picture, that's the exact time where he heard this loud, huge roar. Never heard anything like it before. He imagined it was a massive UFO that was cloaked right above him. It shook the ground kind of thing.
Wow.
Well, Okay, we have no video. We don't have any photographic evidence, but I would beg to differ because with his story, he said I took the picture at the exact same time and when this happened. So what you do is you can take the picture, go to properties, look up the metadata. You can get the location if it's in there and the time and date. And I took that time and date and location and plugged it into Flight Radar 24. And yeah, sure enough, Buckley Air Force Base, there was a fighter jet that took off and it was booking. So by the time it went over his head, he didn't hear it, but you're getting the sound effect later.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't see it. It was way long. Yeah. It was way gone.
Way gone. So just that, even not even having a photograph of the incident, but the fact that he said, it's when I took the picture, I heard the noise, I was able to get the metadata in time.
Well, and you know, that is exactly part of the reason why I created the observation log that I created, was because so many para communities out there, whether it's paranormal ghost investigation, whether it's people out in the woods squatching, whether it's people out in the field looking for UFO, UAPs, things like that, we always see a picture or a video even, a blurry video. But we get very little of that data.
Very
like Daniel Allen Jones is fantastic in the Texas UFO Network group. Whenever somebody's like, I filmed this over San Antonio. It's like, awesome. What direction were you facing? What day was it? What time of day was it? Like, we need more data. We need more information, because the video alone is just a picture, and unfortunately it doesn't tell us 1,000 words.
Right.
It's not worth 1,000 words to science at all. It may be worth 1,000 words to your memory of the situation, but it's not 1,000 words worth of data.
Correct.
For a data set.
Yes, sir.
Which is what you have to have in order to decode these things.
The more the data, the better.
And that's just it. Being able to, any good cop will tell you, after 48 hours, data starts getting deprecated. Somebody's witness statement starts getting filtered through life experience. They start filtering it against personal belief, things like that. You're losing raw data at that point, and you're getting corrupted data.
Yep.
So the more of it you can get at the front end, the better off you are.
Great example. I'm not going to name their names, but 2 military lieutenant colonels had a UFO sighting a year ago. Interviewed them separately a year later, right? One says it was white. One says it was blue.
Yeah.
So your memories do get distorted. It's
That's
not.
right. That's right.
If you just like that television show, Another 48 Hours.
Yeah.
You need to get those facts as quick as you can, because as soon as it starts to deteriorate, And the longer it goes, the probability you're not going to be able to solve this.
Exactly. And that's just it. And even the idea of, I saw something 40 years ago, go report it to MUFON, because there may be 3 or 4 other people that are waiting for confirmation of their sighting from 40 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Your data may help confirm a sighting from 40 years ago. Like the Pascagoula is UFO abduction is a prime example. There were people just in the last 3 years that came out after hearing about it and going, oh no, I saw that.
I saw that too.
I saw that, and they went and made reports about it.
I've had people that don't even know each other that were in the same zip code. One reported it immediately, and then 2 years go by and another guy reports the same incident, describes the exact same object. We will label it as a historic case, but still I'd contact the witness that I did an investigation, and say, hey, you know what? Guy, same zip code, same date, describing exactly what you saw, just decided to report it a year later. You know what I mean? And so it's not just the MUFON CMS database that will check reports. We'll check other places.
Absolutely.
The collaboration with other UFO organizations to see what they've gathered.
Well, and that's just it. Science is about communication. It's about opening things, and mainly, much like the theme of this year's symposium, it's about transparency.
Yes, sir.
It's about transparency of data and the fact of being able to openly share data sets, being able to not have that stuff obfuscated by government entities, by contractors who are in charge of technologies, and that was the example that I give every boomer that I talk to that comes at me like, oh, Grush little green men. It's like, okay, hold on. Whether or not we're talking about little green men in a vault, let's put that aside. What Grush did come out with in his testimony was that his job was to follow a trail of money. And when he got to the door where the money was, the people in charge of that door were like, nah, dude, go away. We're not telling you how we spend your money.
There's no transparency.
Yeah. Like, if you ran a McDonald's and you found out since 1947 people have been embezzling your money and spending it without your permission and without your knowledge, you'd be cool with that?
No, I wouldn't be cool with that. And I'm pretty sure that black market, drug trading, arms trading, you name it, has funded black projects.
Oh, absolutely.
So it'd stay off the paper trail.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
no, and we have numerous points with that. Like, good God, we can look back at Air America in Vietnam that took us right into Cambodia and all that kind of stuff. We can look at Iran-Contra, and that's the one that I normally compare Grush to.
Okay.
So you were cool with Iran-Contra, right? You were cool
Oliver
with them
North.
taking your tax money, sending weapons over here, then selling them over here to give these people weapons. All right, cool. Making sure you're all right with that.
It's a way to hide the money.
And that's just it, And when you're hiding money, at that point, you're holding people who get that money hostage with the information and the knowledge that they have.
Yep.
And the people who have that knowledge are holding the others hostage.
Yeah, it's a mess.
But it's
dismiss and disinformation. Take a little bit of truth and then throw a bunch of lies and see what sticks. It's been going on for a long time, but overall, where we're at now in 2024, there is transparency happening. You've got two groups. You got one group out there that does not want this to come out of the closet. And you got another big one. And you got another group, which is well-funded too. And you got another group that is pushing. So David Koresh is spearheading this.
Yeah.
Okay. I am very excited about the whistleblowers that are standing behind him, waiting to come up and have their testimony and blow this door wide open. I think this is great, not just for our country, but for mankind. That we can learn about what's going on out there, other intelligences, non-human intelligence, but also the technology that's involved that could better our lives, whether it's advanced medical or new propulsion systems. Just imagine what we can learn. Clean energy. Yeah, I mean, we can go on and speculate about that, but this is I'm pretty sure this is the century of we're going to find, I'm pretty sure disclosure is going to happen. The way I look at disclosure is instead of just a bunch of talking heads, it's great that we're all talking and stuff and everybody's on the news, but you need to experience it yourself. You need to hold the metal urge in your hand. That will be the day of disclosure when we all, like an Epcot Center, where we can walk in and go, this is the piece of the Roswell crash, and go through all of that.
And the thing is, like, as much as people don't want the government involved. Believe me, I understand, folks. Your reticence to get government involved in this. I fully understand when they were talking about Arrow last night and poking fun at him. I get it. However, the good thing that came out of Arrow is now there is a shameless system for reporting. Now any pilot can go report, and they won't lose their career. They won't lose their wings. It doesn't matter if you're civilian or military. Now there's a unified place to go report something. So if it took Arrow to make that happen, great.
Actually, Arrow wasn't the first. I think the FAA acknowledged Bigelow Aerospace.
They did.
For a short time, and they didn't do it that long.
No.
But now there is. Pilots should not be afraid. Back in the day, they would ground you, psychological test. I knew a pilot. I'm not going to say his name, but he had like a Star Trek card that said he was captain, whatever. And one of his co-pilots turned him in. He had to go through a psych test. This is many years ago, but
that's what the attitude was toward it. Absolutely, and that's just it. That is much like we talked with UAP PD over here the other day. We need a system by which law enforcement can go to give their sightings without fear of reprisal of losing a 25-year career.
Let's talk
because they saw something on the side of the road.
Okay,
a call that they were sent to.
I had a sheriff deputy. We had a UFO incident, and I popped up with the police officers, and I asked if they heard about it, and it was a nothing burger, but I gave them my card.
Sure.
And I was expecting to get a police report. Well, anyway, about a month later, I got a call from a sheriff's deputy who had a UFO sighting 5 years prior.
Wow.
He filled out an entire police report, and his supervisor was like, "Yeah, we're not going to take
this in."
Because what really happens is the public gets to see what's going on after 2 weeks. So if somebody's in the paper for marijuana charge or whatever, it'll pop up in our small town. And they don't want that coming up. So anyway, he held on that report for a while, and then finally, the word of mouth, hey, a MUFON guy's looking. He turned that report over to us.
Wow.
And they did their full investigation. It was a UFO that that came over their squad car. Their squad car shut down. They weren't able to talk to dispatch.
What?
And then it took off. They decided to chase after it. And I'm going to leave the towns out. I'm not going to say, but it's in Texas. Yeah. But anyway, when it came over this town, it lit up bright, shot straight up. It was nighttime. It was about 3 a.m. The whole sky lit up daytime. And power went out in the small town and many other towns in the area. The electric company was called CP&L. I think it was CP&L. And they even did their investigation to try to figure out transformers blew or whatever, and they couldn't understand it. Now, here's the weird part. Radio dispatch for the police department has a backup generator, so if their power goes out, they still have it.
Sure.
And the generator was drained.
Wow.
So this is all like not just the incident, but the follow-up and the investigation, talking. I mean, they did all the work for me. It was a historical case, but he did all this work, and nobody wants to see his report. And he's like, I got permission from my supervisor to turn it over to you guys, but they wanted to be anonymous because of know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because they will lose a career.
Yes,
you
sir.
will lose a pension real quick, and that's just it. We need to get to a point where these conversations can be had on that kind of level. Like we said earlier, whenever we had Mr. Beckwith on, like, if you're out there and you're a voting member of society, if your congressman isn't down with disclosure, you probably need to vote in a new congressman now.
No, we need to clean
I don't
this
care.
up.
This needs to be a cause. Like, good people like Stephen Bassett have worked on this for years. Good people, even Stephen Greer, despite his recent statements, things like that. He's part of that disclosure movement. He has been there for years trying to get literally lawmakers to pay attention to this. And yes, it is something that we need to focus on politically. It needs to be a rallying cry behind candidates. It needs to be,
whether we all don't agree or not, we all agree on one thing. We're trying to find out the truth, no matter what. And some people got agendas, some don't. I just would like to just tell us, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Maybe I think the population over the years with sci-fi shows and movies and documentaries was an acclimation process, probably. And I think the world's ready now, and y'all can do the drip, 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 but I would like the flood of information so we could tear through the data. I'm ready to rock right now.
Exactly.
So,
I want to thank you so much for taking the time, Jeremy. It's
it was
great
a pleasure.
having you on the show. We've got to have you on again. Let everybody know out there where they can go to get a hold of MUFON Colorado, where they can find you, where they can submit their case, all that kind of good stuff.
So everybody, if you want to reach out and report a UFO, I'd recommend that you go to the MUFON website. It's www.mufon.com, and you can file a report there. Anybody in the Colorado area that wants to join our public meetings or become a field investigator, the website is CO MUFON. Just type in CO MUFON and you'll see Colorado. It'll show that where we have our monthly meetings and trainings and things like that. And there was another thing you said. What was the other question? Oh, how to get a hold of me personally.
How to get a hold of you?
You can. I'm not really. I'm on social media, but I don't really talk on my wall. But if you private message me, I'll get back with you. So I'm on Facebook, and I will give out my email. Anybody wants to reach out to me, it's raymufon@yahoo.com, RAYMUFON.com. So,
all right.
Oh, no. Yeah, MUFON@yahoo.com.
There you go. Yeah. Ray MUFON.
raymufon@yahoo.com.
All right. Fantastic.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on the show.
You bet, man. While you were online checking out all the great information from Jeremy Ray as well as MUFON Colorado, make sure to stop on by Curious Realm. CuriousRealm.com is where you can like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. That is where you can get your binaural beat therapy music. If you are a third, fourth degree UAP, UFO experiencer or abductee, it's also where you can get your copy of the new Observation and Encounter Log. Stay tuned through these quick breaks. We will be right back with our continuing coverage of MUFON International Symposium 2024 right here in Irving, Texas, after this.
The key to good science is good research. At the heart of good research is a good data set. With the Field Observation and Encounter Log from Curious Research, you can easily keep track of your investigative information all in one place, making it easier to review cases and readily see comparisons and contrasts between them. Whether out in the woods squatching, in a back room gathering EVPs, or using high-tech gear to track UFO, UAP activity, this easy-to-carry, pocket-sized scientific data log is the perfect companion for any field researcher. You can find your copy of the Curious Research Field Observation and Encounter Log at Amazon.com or visit the official Curious Realm store at CuriousRealm.com/store to reserve your copy for yourself, your family, or a mind that you want to open. That website again is CuriousRealm.com/store.